Developing tonight, Kim Taylor, the wife of Woodbury County Supervisor Jeremy Taylor, goes on trial next week in federal court. She faces more than 50 counts of voter fraud related charges. We've also learned from a government filing, Jeremy Taylor is an unindicted co-conspirator in the case. KTIV's Matt Hoffman has obtained documents Kim Taylor plans to use in her defense and court documents that allege Jeremy Taylor told other elected officials he could deliver them votes if they donated to his campaign.
In a filing on Monday, the U.S. Department of Justice accused Woodbury County Supervisor Jeremy Taylor of participating in a conspiracy with his wife, Kim Taylor, on voter fraud charges. Jeremy Taylor gave us a handwritten statement which says, in part, that the truth will come out at his wife's trial and that the allegation is untrue. Kim Taylor faces more than 200 years in prison if convicted on more than 50 counts she faces. According to a government filing, Jeremy Taylor told now Woodbury County Sheriff Chad Sheehan and State Senator Rocky DeWitt that he could deliver 500 to 700 Vietnamese votes if they donated to his campaign. The government also alleges Jeremy Taylor, Kim Taylor, and an unnamed third individual were going out into the Vietnamese community and helping voters fill out ballots. According to the filing, one Vietnamese woman will testify. Jeremy Taylor completed voting documents on behalf of the woman's family members. Documents KTIV obtained show Woodbury County Auditor Pat Gill contacted the FBI about election irregularities and that members of his staff observed Jeremy Taylor try and drop off ballot request forms after the time deadline had passed. Kim Taylor is charged with 26 counts of providing false information in registering, 3 counts of fraudulent registration, and 23 counts of fraudulent voting. KTIV obtained documents her defense counsel requested from Woodbury County, some of which are now defense exhibits filed ahead of her trial. In one email, now Sioux City School Board President Dan Greenwell requested water consumption bills for homes he said he was interested in investing in. But he would later testify at a hearing that he actually requested the bills to see if Jeremy Taylor was registered to vote at the proper address. Another defense exhibit is an email from a county employee who said the auditor was being sued by the Trump campaign for sending out pre-populated absentee ballot request forms. Other items on the defense exhibit list include Woodbury County board meeting minutes, press releases from the Iowa Secretary of State, and records from Kim Taylor's cell phone. In Sioux City, Matt Offman, KTIV News 4.
All right, Matt, thank you for that update. Meanwhile, Kim Taylor's trial is scheduled to begin Monday, November 13th inside the federal courthouse in Sioux City. We'll, of course, continue to keep you updated.